Jake Morrison had been commander of the Kepler mining colony for 3 years. He loved his job. Every morning, he would walk through the main dome and see 12,000 people living their lives. Children played in the parks. Adults worked in the mines and factories. Families ate dinner together in their homes. It was a good life on the edge of space. The colony sat on a small planet rich with rare metals. Earth needed these metals to build ships and technology. The planet was far from Earth, but it was worth the distance. The colonists had built a beautiful settlement with clean air, good food, and safe streets. Jake stood in the control room, looking at the morning reports. The mines had found more platinum yesterday. The food gardens were growing well. 3 new babies had been born last week. Everything was normal and peaceful. Then the alarm started screaming. Commander Morrison, to the main screen now, called out Lisa Harper from her station. She was the best communication officer Jake had ever worked with. Her voice was always calm, but today it shook with fear. Jake ran to the main viewing screen. What he saw made his blood freeze. Dark ships were coming down from the sky like black rain. They were huge, bigger than any human ship. Their hulls looked like black crystal, sharp and deadly. Jake had never seen ships like these before, but he knew what they meant. How many ships? Jake asked. Lisa checked her instruments. 47 vessels, sir. They are not responding to our calls. They are not human ships. Jake's mind raced. The colony had no military ships. They had some small patrol boats for emergencies, but nothing that could fight a real battle. The colonists were miners, farmers, teachers, and families. They were not soldiers. Send out the emergency signal, Jake ordered. Use all frequencies. Send it to Earth, to our allies, to anyone who will listen. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. The message went out across the galaxy in many languages. It was a simple message that every spacefaring race would understand. This is Kepler Mining Colony calling for immediate help. You're under attack by unknown alien forces. 12,000 civilian lives are in danger. Please respond. We need military assistance now. The alien ships landed outside the colony's main dome. Jake could see them through the windows. They were even bigger up close. Steam rose from their hulls like they were made of living metal. Doors opened on the ships, and creatures came out. Jake had heard stories about the Zephyrian Empire, but he had never seen one of their soldiers before. They looked like walking crystals, tall and sharp. Their bodies reflected light like broken glass. They moved in perfect formation, carrying weapons that hummed with energy. Any response to our distress call? Jake asked. The Altarian Federation received our message, Lisa reported. They say they are reviewing the situation. Jake felt a small hope. The Altarians had signed a mutual defense treaty with Earth 2 years ago. They promised to help each other if attacked. What about the Proxima Alliance? They received the message too. They say they are checking with their military command. More hope. The Proxima Alliance had been trading partners with Earth for 5 years. They had always been friendly and helpful. Keep trying, everyone. Centauri Republic, the Vega Collective, all of them. The Zephyrian soldiers reached the colony's outer fence. Jake watched them set up their weapons. These were not the tools of occupation. These were weapons of destruction. Sir, called out Ben Carter from the defense station. They're charging some kind of energy cannon. Looks like they plan to break through our shields. Jake's communication system lit up with incoming messages. His heart jumped with hope. Help was coming, but when Lisa read the messages, Jake's hope died. The Altarian Federation says this is a border dispute outside their jurisdiction, Lisa said quietly. They cannot provide military support. What? Jake could not believe it. We have a defense treaty. They say the treaty only covers attacks on core worlds, not outer colonies. Jake felt sick. The treaty he had read clearly covered all human settlements. The Altarians were making excuses. What about the Proxima Alliance? Lisa looked at another message. They say they have budget problems. Their fleet is dealing with pirates in the Rigel sector. They cannot spare any ships. The Centauri Republic. They express their deep concern and offer to provide humanitarian aid after the crisis is resolved. Jake stared at the messages. After the crisis is resolved? That meant after everyone was dead. More messages came in from other alien governments. Each one had an excuse. The Vega Collective was having internal political problems. The Tau Ceti Federation was negotiating a peace treaty and could not take military action. The Serious Commonwealth offered to host peace talks between humans and Zephyrians. Every government in the galaxy that claimed to be humanity's friend found a reason not to help. The Zephyrian energy cannon fired. The colony's main shield flashed bright blue and held for a moment. Then it failed. The protective dome that kept the colonists safe cracked like an eggshell. "Evacuate everyone to the emergency shelters," Jake ordered. "Get the children to safety first." His staff ran to follow his orders, but Jake knew it was hopeless. The emergency shelters were built for accidents, not for war. They would not stop Sephorian weapons. Jake tried one more time. He opened a channel to every government that had ever shaken hands with a human diplomat. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of Kepler Colony. We are civilians. We have children here, families, people who have never hurt anyone. We're being attacked by an empire that wants to kill us all. We have helped you. We have traded with you. We have been your friends. Please help us now." The responses came back quickly. All negative. All excuses. All cowardly. The Zephyrians broke through the outer defenses.
Ow.
Jake could hear the sound of energy weapons firing. People were screaming. The communication system was filling with desperate calls from all over the colony. "Commander, this is Sector 7. They are burning everything. The hospital is gone. Commander, Sector 3 is under attack. We need help. They are not taking prisoners, sir. They are killing everyone." Jake sat in his command chair and watched his world die. 12,000 people who had trusted him to keep them safe. 12,000 people who had believed that Earth's allies would help them in their time of need. He was wrong. They were all wrong. The last thing Jake Morrison saw was a Zephyrian soldier entering his control room. The creature's crystal body reflected the light from the burning colony outside. It raised its weapon without hesitation, without mercy, without any sign that it saw Jake as a living being worth considering. In those final seconds, Jake Morrison understood a truth that would change humanity forever. In a galaxy full of species that called themselves civilized, that spoke of peace and friendship and mutual cooperation, humans had learned they truly stood alone. The distress signals from Kepler Colony continued broadcasting for 3 more days before the transmitters finally died. By then, the message had reached every major government in the galaxy. Every single one had heard humanity's cry for help. Every single one had chosen to ignore it. The galaxy had made its choice. Soon, it would learn that humanity had made theirs too. The news reached Earth on a cold Tuesday morning. Admiral Kate Sullivan was drinking coffee in her office when Lieutenant Paul Rogers knocked on her door. His face was pale and his hands shook as he held the datapad. "Admiral, we just received the final transmission from Kepler Colony," Paul said quietly. Kate took the pad and read the report. Her coffee grew cold as she absorbed the horrible truth. 12,000 people dead. Men, women, and children slaughtered by the Zephyrian Empire. The colony completely destroyed. Wiped from existence like it had never been there at all. But the worst part was not the deaths. The worst part was the list of responses from humanity's allies. Every government that Earth had trusted had found excuses to abandon the colonists. Treaties broken, promises forgotten, friends who turned out to be no friends at all. Kate stood up and walked to her window. Below her, the city of New Geneva stretched out under gray clouds. Millions of people going about their daily lives, not knowing that everything had just changed, not knowing that the galaxy had shown its true face. "Schedule an emergency meeting with the Earth Council," Kate ordered. "I want every member there in 2 hours." The Earth Council chamber was full when Kate arrived. President Dan Cooper sat at the head of the long table. Round him were the leaders of every major nation on Earth. These were the people who made decisions that affected all of humanity. Kate walked to the front of the room and activated the main screen. Images appeared showing the ruins of Kepler Colony. Burned buildings, destroyed homes, empty streets where children used to play. 12,000 people, Kate said simply. 12,000 of our people called for help. They sent distress signals to 43 different alien governments. Governments we have treaties with, governments we trade with, governments we thought were our friends. She pressed a button and the screen showed the list of responses. Every excuse, every rejection, every cowardly reason why humanity's allies could not help. The Altarian Federation said it was a border dispute outside their area of concern. We have a mutual defense treaty with them that clearly covers all human settlements. They lied. President Cooper leaned forward. What about the Proxima Alliance? Budget problems. They claimed they could not spare any ships. This from a government that has over 300 military vessels doing nothing but patrol duty. The Centauri Republic? They offered humanitarian aid after the crisis was resolved. After everyone was dead, they meant. Kate looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. She saw anger, shock, and something else. Something that had not been there before. A hard understanding that the universe was not the friendly place they had believed it to be. What are you recommending, Admiral? Asked Minister Elena Vasquez from the European Federation. Kate had been thinking about this question since she read the report. We learn from this. Remember who our real friends are when the shooting starts. We make sure we never have to ask for help again. The room was quiet for a long moment. These leaders had spent years building relationships with alien governments. They had signed treaties and trade agreements. They had believed in a galaxy where different species could work together for peace and prosperity. That dream was dead now. What would that mean exactly? President Cooper asked. Kate was ready for this question too. The Earth Defense Initiative. We build our own fleet. We train our own soldiers. Protect our own people. We stop depending on fair-weather friends who disappear when we need them most. Director Chen Wang from the Asian Coalition shook his head. The cost would be enormous. We are talking about building hundreds of ships, training millions of soldiers. The cost of not doing it is higher, Kate replied. 12,000 people. Paid that cost 3 weeks ago. She pressed another button on the screen. New images appeared showing the military capabilities of Earth's so-called allies. The Altarian Federation had over 500 warships. The Proxima Alliance had even more. Any one of these governments could have stopped the Zephyrian attack with ease. They have the ships. They have the weapons. They have the soldiers. But they do not have the will to use them when it matters. When real people are dying, they find excuses. Minister Johannes Muller from the Germanic states raised his hand. What about diplomacy? What about trying to rebuild these relationships? Kate looked at him with cold eyes. Minister, what would you do if your neighbor promised to help you if your house caught fire? But when the flames started, he said he was too busy to call the fire department. Would you try to rebuild that relationship? Or would you buy your own fire truck? The room was silent again. The answer was obvious. President Cooper stood up. Admiral Sullivan, prepare a detailed proposal for the Earth Defense Initiative. Want to see numbers, timelines, and costs? We will vote on this next week. But Kate knew the vote was just a formality. The decision had already been made the moment. Those alien governments chose to abandon humanity's children to die. Over the next few days, Kate worked with her staff to create the proposal. The numbers were staggering. Earth would need to build 300 new warships. Military academies would have to triple their size. Weapon factories would run day and night. The entire planet would have to focus on defense, but the resources were there. Earth was rich in rare metals, smart people, and industrial capacity. What they had lacked was the will to use these advantages. The Kepler massacre had provided that will. The vote was unanimous. Every member of the Earth Council voted yes. Earth Defense Initiative became law with more support than any proposal in the Council's history. Within weeks, shipyards across the solar system roared to life. Old factories were converted to produce weapons and armor. Military recruitment centers opened in every major city. Young people lined up to join the Earth Defense Force, driven by anger at what had happened to the Kepler. Colonists. Kate found herself promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth Defense. Her first order was to review every treaty Earth had signed with alien governments. She wanted to know exactly who had betrayed humanity and who might betray them in the future. The list was depressing. Almost every government that Earth had considered an ally had found excuses to abandon Kepler colony. Trade partners, military allies, diplomatic friends. All of them had shown their true colors when tested. Commander Sullivan, said Captain Rick Barnes, her new chief of staff. "We are receiving messages from several alien governments. They want to discuss what happened at Kepler. Some are offering explanations." Kate did not look up from her work. "File all diplomatic communications. Under pending review. We are too busy building ships to chat with fair-weather friends. Some of them are offering compensation for the families of the victims." Now Kate looked up. Her eyes were hard as steel. "They think they can pay for betrayal with money? Tell them to keep their credits. We will remember what they did without their help." As months passed, the Earth Defense Force grew stronger. New ships rolled out of the shipyards every week. Soldiers trained in combat techniques learned from studying every alien military in the galaxy. Earth was transforming from a peaceful trading partner into something much more dangerous. The galaxy was starting to notice. Alien governments that had ignored Earth's pleas for help were now sending worried messages about humanity's military buildup. They spoke of the need for peace and cooperation. They offered new treaties and better trade deals. Kate read these messages with cold amusement. Where had this concern for cooperation been when human children were dying? Where had these offers of friendship been when Kepler colony was burning? The galaxy had made its choice. Now humanity was making theirs. And soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn what humanity was truly capable of when they stopped asking for permission and started taking care of themselves. 6 months after the Kepler colony massacre, General Alex Turner was patrolling the Outer Rim with his battle group when the message came in. He was aboard the UES Defiance, one of Earth's newest warships. The ship was sleek and powerful, built with lessons learned from humanity's betrayal. "General, we are receiving a priority distress signal," reported Communications Officer Beth Martinez. She was young but skilled, one of the thousands who had joined the Earth Defense Force after Kepler. Alex walked over to her station. "Who is it from?" "The Altarian Federation, sir. Their capital world, Altair Prime, is under attack." Alex felt his jaw tighten. The Altarians. The same government that had abandoned 12,000 human civilians to die. The same cowards who had claimed jurisdictional complications when children were being slaughtered. "What are they saying?" Alex asked. Beth played the message. The voice belonged to Admiral Kel Vorthok, the Altarian military commander. Alex had met him once, at a diplomatic function. Vorthok had seemed arrogant then, looking down on humans as primitive newcomers to the galaxy. Now Vorthok's voice was filled with panic. "This is Admiral Vorthok of the Altarian Defense Fleet calling any available forces for immediate assistance. Altair Prime is under attack by the Zephyrian Empire. We have lost half our ships. Our orbital defenses are failing. We need help now. Any government that can provide military support, please respond." Alex studied the tactical display showing the Altarian system. Red dots showed Zephyrian ships surrounding the planet. Blue dots showed Altarian defenders being destroyed one by one. Oh. It was exactly like what had happened at Kepler Colony, but on a much larger scale, sir, said Lieutenant Tony Walsh from the sensor station. "Long-range scans show 47. Is Zephyrian vessels in the Altarian system the same number that attacked Kepler?" Alex nodded. The Zephyrians were using the same tactics. Overwhelming force against civilian targets. The difference was that Altair Prime had millions of people, not thousands. "Any other responses to their distress call?" Alex asked. Beth checked her communications board. The Proxima Alliance received the message. "They are reviewing the situation with their high command." Alex almost laughed. The same excuse the Proxima Alliance had given when humans were dying. "What? About the Centauri Republic? They expressed deep concern and are calling for peaceful negotiations between the Altarians and Zephyrians." The same meaningless response they had given for Kepler. The Vega Collective. "They say they cannot take sides in what appears to be a territorial dispute." Alex shook his head. Every excuse was familiar. These were the same cowardly responses that had condemned the people of Kepler Colony to death. "Sir," Beth said quietly, "Admiral Vorthok is sending a direct message to our ship. Put it on screen." The image of Admiral Vorthok appeared on the main viewer. The proud Altarian leader looked desperate now. His blue skin was pale with fear, and his 4 eyes darted around nervously. "General Turner, I know there have been difficulties between our governments, but I am begging you for help. The Zephyrians are targeting our civilian population centers. They are killing children, families, innocent people. Please, in the name of galactic civilization, help us." Alex stared at the screen for a long moment. He thought about Commander Jake Morrison and the 12,000 people who had died at Kepler. He thought about the children who had been playing in the parks that morning. He thought about the families who had trusted their government to protect them. He thought about Admiral Vorthek's response when those people had been dying. "Admiral Vorthek," Alex said calmly, "remind me what your government said when Kepler colony called for help." Vorthek's expression changed. The desperation was still there, but now it was mixed with shame. "General, that was a complicated situation. Border disputes fall under different treaties." "Jurisdictional complications?" Alex interrupted. "That was your exact phrase." He said the Mutual Defense Treaty only covered core worlds, not outer colonies. "General, please. This is different. Altair Prime is our capital world. Millions of lives are at stake." Alex nodded slowly. "You are right, Admiral. This is different. And when humans were dying, it was only 12,000 people. Now it is millions. The scale is much bigger." Hope appeared in Vorthek's eyes. "Then you will help us?" "No." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Vorthok stared at Alex in disbelief. "General, you cannot be serious. We are talking about genocide. The Zephyrians will kill everyone. On Altair Prime, like they killed everyone at Kepler Colony. That was... that was different." "How is it different, Admiral?" "Because the victims were human instead of Altarian." "Are human lives worth less than yours?" Vorthek's mouth opened and closed without sound. He had no answer, because there was no answer. He had abandoned humanity when they needed help, and now humanity was returning the favor. "General Turner," Vorthok said desperately, "I understand you are angry about Kepler. We made mistakes. These are innocent people, children who had nothing to do with government decisions." Alex felt a flash of rage. "There were children at Kepler too, Admiral, human children who died because you found excuses not to help them. Where was your concern? For innocent lives, then?" We were wrong. I admit it. We should have helped. But please, do not let your anger at us condemn millions of innocent people." Alex looked around his bridge. His officers were watching him, waiting for orders. These were good people who had joined the Earth Defense Force to protect humanity. They had trained hard and served with honor, but they remembered Kepler too. "Admiral Vorthok," Alex said finally, when Commander Morrison called for help. He used almost the same words you just used. He talked about innocent people and children. He begged for assistance in the name of galactic civilization. "Yes, and we were wrong not to help. But ... Your government's response was filed under jurisdictional complications. You said you could not spare ships for what you called a border skirmish. You offered to review the situation after the crisis was resolved." Vorthek's shoulders slumped. He knew what was coming. "General Turner, I am formally requesting immediate military assistance under the Mutual Defense Treaty between our governments." Alex smiled coldly. "Admiral, I am afraid this appears to be a border dispute outside our area of jurisdiction. Earth forces are currently dealing with piracy issues in the Sol sector and cannot spare ships for what appears to be an internal Altarian matter. The exact same excuses, word for word." However, Alex continued, "Earth offers its deep concern and is willing to provide humanitarian aid after the crisis is resolved. We also volunteer to host peace talks between the Altarian Federation and the Zephyrian Empire." Vorthok stared at him in horror. "You are condemning us to death." "No, Admiral. We are treating you exactly the way you treated us. If you think this treatment condemns you to death, then you have finally understood what you did to the people of Kepler Colony." Alex cut the communication. The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in silence. "Sir," Beth said quietly, "should I file their request under pending review?" "No," Alex replied. "File it under jurisdictional complications. Well, that seems to be the proper category for this type of request. The UES Defiance and her battle group continued on their patrol route. Behind them, the Altarian system burned as the Zephyrian Empire continued its assault. 3 days later, Altair Prime fell. 5 million Altarians died in the attack. The Federation government collapsed as their remaining ships fled to distant colonies. The galaxy watched in shock as one of the oldest civilizations was destroyed. But what shocked them more was humanity's response to the Altarian plea for help. Earth had shown the galaxy exactly what it felt like to be abandoned by your allies. And this was only the beginning. Captain Ryan Phillips had been commanding rescue operations for 6 months when the refugee crisis began. The Zephyrian Empire was spreading across the galaxy like a plague, destroying everything in its path. System after system fell to their crystal ships and energy weapons. The UES Guardian was not a warship. It was a massive transport vessel designed to carry people, supplies, and hope to places where they were needed most. Ryan had volunteered for this duty because he believed in helping people, even when their governments had failed them. "Captain, we have 17 refugee ships requesting permission to dock," reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. "Are from the Tau Ceti system. The Zephyrians hit their colonies yesterday." Ryan looked at the tactical display. The refugee ships were old, damaged, and overcrowded. Some were civilian transports never meant for long space journeys. Others were cargo haulers hastily converted to carry people instead of goods. All of them were filled with families who had lost everything. "Grant them docking permission," Ryan ordered. "Prepare the medical teams and food distribution centers." Sir Amy said carefully, "These are Tau Ceti refugees. Our government refused to help us at Kepler Colony. They said they were negotiating a peace treaty and could not take military action." Ryan nodded. He knew the history. Every officer in the Earth's Defense Force knew which governments had abandoned humanity in their darkest hour. The list was burned into their memory like a scar. "I remember what they did, Lieutenant, but look at those ships. Those are not government officials. Those are families with children who are scared and hungry." The first refugee ship docked an hour later. Ryan stood in the docking bay as the airlock opened. What came out broke his heart. Families carrying everything they owned in small bags. Children clinging to their parents. Old people who looked confused and lost. These people had nothing to do with their government's cowardly decisions. They were just civilians who had been caught in the path of an unstoppable enemy. A Tau Ceti woman approached Ryan. She was carrying a small child who could not have been more than 3 years old. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her eyes were filled with exhaustion and fear. "Please," she said in broken English, "my daughter is sick. She needs medicine." Ryan called for a medical team immediately. As the doctors took the child to the medical bay, the woman grabbed Ryan's hand. "You," she whispered. "Thank you for not leaving us to die." Over the next few weeks, more refugee ships arrived. They came from a dozen different star systems, all fleeing the advancing Zephyrian forces. The Guardian and other human rescue ships worked around the clock to help them, but the refugees brought disturbing news. Their own governments were abandoning them, just like they had abandoned humanity. "Captain," said Commander Bill Tucker, Ryan's second in command, "I just spoke with a group of Proxima Alliance refugees. They say their government evacuated only the wealthy and politically connected. Everyone else was left behind." Ryan was not surprised. The Proxima Alliance had claimed budget problems when human children were dying. Now they were showing their true priorities. What about the Centauri Republic? Same story? Their leaders fled to safe systems and left their people to face the Zephyrians alone. Ryan walked to the observation deck where he could see the refugee ships. Dozens of them now, floating in space like lost birds. H1 carried hundreds of people who had been betrayed by their own leaders. His communication system chimed with an incoming message. The sender was Chancellor Morax of the Proxima Alliance, calling from a safe bunker light years away from the fighting. "Captain Phillips," the Chancellor said, "I want to thank you for assisting our people. The Proxima Alliance will not forget this kindness in our time of need." Ryan almost laughed. Chancellor, where was your kindness when human civilians needed help? The Chancellor's expression became uncomfortable. That was a regrettable situation. Budget constraints and military commitments made it impossible to... Budget constraints, Ryan interrupted. Your government has the largest military budget in this sector. You could have sent a single ship to help at Kepler Colony. One ship. Could have saved 12,000 lives. Captain, I understand you are bitter about past decisions. But surely you can see that continued cooperation serves everyone's interests. Ryan looked out at the refugee ships again. Chancellor, let me explain something to you. We are not helping your people because of cooperation or treaties or politics. We are helping them because they are people in need, something your government apparently does not understand. Of course we understand. The Alliance has always valued humanitarian principles. Really? Where were those principles when Commander Morrison was sending distress signals? Where were they when human children were crying for help? The Chancellor had no answer, like all the other alien leaders. He had excuses for the past, but expected mercy in the present. Captain Phillips, surely you are not going to let old grievances prevent future cooperation between our peoples. Chancellor, there is no cooperation between our peoples. There is only humanity helping your civilians because we are not monsters like you proved yourselves to be. Ryan cut the communication and turned back to his work. There were more refugees to help, more lives to save. But he wanted to make one thing very clear to the galaxy. Amy, send a message to all refugee ships. We'll tell them that Earth is providing humanitarian assistance to all civilians, regardless of their government's past actions. But make sure they understand this is charity, not alliance. What should I tell the government representatives who want to meet with you? Tell them I am too busy saving the people they abandoned to waste time talking to them. The rescue operations continued for months. Human ships evacuated millions of civilians from dozens of systems. They provided food, medicine, and safe transport. 2 refugee camps far from the war zone. But the most important thing they provided was a lesson. While alien governments fled to safety and abandoned their own people, humans stayed to help. While alien leaders made excuses and played politics, human captains risked their lives to save strangers. The galaxy began to notice the difference. Captain Amy reported one day, "We are receiving asylum requests from government officials now. Several alien leaders want to relocate to human-controlled space." Ryan read through the list. It's senators, admirals, chancellors, and ministers. All the same people who had found excuses not to help humanity were now begging for human protection. Are they offering in exchange? Ryan asked. Everything, sir. Military technology, star charts, trade agreements, territorial concessions. Some are offering to make Earth the dominant partner in new alliances. Ryan thought about this for a moment. These were the same leaders who had treated humanity as junior partners in the galaxy, who had looked down on humans as primitive newcomers, who had abandoned human children to die rather than risk their precious ships. Now they wanted to hide behind human strength. Send them a standard response, Ryan said finally. Earth provides humanitarian assistance to all civilian refugees, regardless of their background. Government officials seeking asylum will be processed through normal channels after all civilian cases are completed. Sir, some of these officials have valuable intelligence about Zephyrian weaknesses. Then they should have shared that intelligence when it could have saved human lives. File their requests under pending review. Amy smiled. Definite pending. Review? The most indefinite kind. As the refugee crisis continued, humanity showed the galaxy what real leadership looked like. While alien governments collapsed and fled, human ships stayed on the front lines. While alien leaders saved themselves, human captains saved everyone else. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. When the crisis came, only one species had the courage and character to stand up and help. Only one species put morality before politics, and lives before profit. That species was humanity, and they were done asking permission to do what was right. 2 years after the Kepler Colony massacre, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution. The flagship of humanity's war fleet was the most powerful ship ever built by human hands. Around it floated the largest military force Earth had ever assembled. 300 ships, All human-built, all human-crewed, no alien allies to worry about. No fair-weather friends who might run away when the fighting started. "Admiral, all battle groups report ready," announced Commander Greg Watson. He was Kate's tactical officer. A veteran who had joined the Earth Defense Force after losing friends at Kepler Colony, Kate looked out at her fleet through the main viewer. These ships represented 2 years of hard work, sacrifice, and determination. Earth had poured its resources into building this force because they had learned a simple truth. The only help you could count on was the help you gave yourself. Status: report on the Zephyrian Empire, Kate ordered. Lieutenant Sam Brooks checked his intelligence displays. "The enemy controls 47 star systems now, Admiral. They have destroyed 6 major civilizations and enslaved the populations of 12 others. Their fleet consists of approximately 800 vessels." Kate nodded. The Zephyrians had grown bold over the past 2 years. They believed the galaxy was weak and divided. They believed no one had the will to stop them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Current location of their main fleet: the Kepler system, Admiral. They are using the ruins of the human colony as a forward base. Kate felt her jaw tighten. The Zephyrians were using the graves of human children as a military base. They were making their headquarters on the same planet where 12,000 innocent people had died calling for help. It was perfect. Kate could not have asked for a better place to make her point. All ships set course for the Kepler system. Maximum speed. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace as one massive formation. Behind them, Earth's shipyards continued building more vessels. The planet that had once begged for help from uncaring allies was now the most powerful military force in the galaxy. The journey to Kepler took 18 hours. When the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they found exactly what Kate had expected. The Zephyrian Empire had turned the dead colony into a fortress. Their crystal ships orbited the planet like black stars. Enemy fleet composition, Kate ordered. 412 Zephyrian vessels, Admiral. They have heavy cruisers, destroyers, and battleships, all armed with plasma weapons and energy shields. Kate studied the tactical display. The Zephyrians outnumbered her fleet, but numbers were not everything. Human ships were built with lessons learned from every species that had refused to help them. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than anything the galaxy had seen before. More importantly, they were crewed by people who remembered Kepler Colony. Admiral, reported Communications Officer Linda Hayes. "The Zephyrian commander is requesting to speak with you." The image of a Zephyrian general appeared on the main viewer. His crystal body reflected the light from the dead planet below. His voice sounded like breaking glass when he spoke. "I am General Krex of the Zephyrian Empire. You will withdraw your ships immediately or face destruction." Kate smiled coldly. "General Krex, I am Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. You are occupying the site where you murdered 12,000 human civilians. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." The crystal being laughed to sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Surrender. You bring 300 primitive ships against the might of the Empire. We have conquered dozens of worlds. We have destroyed civilizations that existed for thousands of years." "Yes, I know." "And where were their allies when they needed help? Where were their friends and trading partners? They all found excuses to abandon each other just like they abandoned us." General Krex's expression became confused. "What does that matter? The weak fall and the strong survive? This is the natural order." "You are right, General. The weak do fall. But you made one mistake. You assumed humanity was weak because our allies abandoned us. You never considered that maybe we were the strong ones all along." Kate cut the communication and turned to her weapons officer. "All ships, battle stations. Today we settle accounts for 12,000 innocent people." The Battle of Kepler began at 1430 Earth Standard Time. The Zephyrian fleet attacked in their traditional formation, overwhelming force applied without strategy or finesse. They had won every battle for 2 years using the same tactics, but they had never fought humans before. The Earth Defense Force moved like a living thing. Ships that had trained together for 2 years worked in perfect coordination. Human weapons, designed by studying every alien technology in the galaxy, tore through Zephyrian shields like paper. Direct hit on enemy battleship, reported Weapons Officer Mark Taylor. Their shields are down. Firing again. The Zephyrian ship exploded in a ball of crystal fragments. Around it, more enemy vessels fell to human weapons. The crystal beings, who had seemed unstoppable, were being systematically destroyed. Admiral called out Greg Watson. Enemy forces are trying to retreat to the planet's surface. Negative. No survivors. No prisoners. They showed no mercy to the civilians at Kepler Colony. They get no mercy from us. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it was over, every Zephyrian ship was destroyed. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for 2 years was broken in a single engagement. Kate stood on her bridge, looking down at the planet where it all began, where Commander Jake Morrison had sent desperate calls for help that were ignored by every government in the galaxy, where 12,000 people had died alone and abandoned. Admiral Linda reported, "We are receiving communications from across the galaxy. Governments that want to congratulate us on our victory." Really? Which governments? The Altarian Federation remnants? What is left of the Proxima Alliance? The Centauri Republic? And about 20 others. Kate almost laughed. The same cowards who had found excuses not to help were now eager to celebrate humanity's victory. What are they saying? They want to thank us for destroying the Zephyrian threat. Some are requesting military alliances. Others are offering trade agreements. Few want to discuss sharing technology. Kate thought about this for a moment. 2 years ago, these same governments had abandoned humanity to die. No, they wanted to be friends again because humans had proven they could win without help. Open a channel to the entire galaxy, Kate ordered. When the communication system was ready, Kate addressed every government that had ignored humanity's cry for help. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the United Earth Defense Force. The Zephyrian Empire has been eliminated. The threat they posed to galactic civilization is over." She paused, looking out at the ruins of Kepler Colony. "To the governments that are now sending us messages of congratulation and requests for alliance, I want you to understand something. We did not destroy the Zephyrians for you. We did not save the galaxy because we are your friends. We did this for the 12,000 people who died here 2 years ago, while you watched and did nothing." Ash, Kate's voice became harder, colder. "You showed us who you really are when we needed help. Cowards who value politics over principles and profit over people. We do not need you. We do not want your alliances. We do not trust your promises." The communication reached every corner of the galaxy. Every government that had abandoned humanity heard the same message. Humanity stands alone. We always have. The difference now is that we know it, and we are stronger for it. We will protect our own people and help those who cannot help themselves. But we will never again mistake you for friends. Kate closed the communication and looked around her bridge. Her officers smiled with satisfaction. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived as a galactic power, and they remembered exactly who had helped them get there. Nobody.